Hello, this is Chris Kobe with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching the Video Voters Guide or listening to our podcast. We're here today to talk to candidates running in the November 5th, 2024 general election. We're grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Sailing Foundation, the League of Women Voters of Portland Education Fund, the Weiss Foundation, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me is Bob Weinstein, running for the office of Portland City Council, District 4. District 4 is located to the west of the Willamette River, plus a small section in the Lower East Side. Welcome, Mr. Weinstein.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity.
Sure. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for this office.
Okay, well, after getting a master's degree in special education at the University of Oregon, I headed north to Ketchikan, Alaska, where I've been offered a job as a traveling special ed teacher, flying to remote communities in Southeast Alaska to small schools dispersed throughout the region. I later became superintendent of the school district. That's where I learned how to fix problems and build effective budgets. I was then elected to the Ketchikan City Council in 1991, served 2 3-year terms, after which I served 4 terms, 12 years as mayor. Towards the end of my 4th term, I became a staffer for a U.S. Senator of Alaska, Mark Begich, as a state staffer. And that's where I learned how to help constituents, aside from my elected office, and worked on regional issues such as the Tongass National Forest.
Thank you. What are your ideas for working productively with the other 2 council members from that district?
Well, I'll approach that in 2 ways. First of all, I hope to have a good relationship with the other 2 members, regardless of who they are, regardless of their philosophies or positions. Obviously, there's some differences among the 30 candidates who will be on the ballot in District 4. So I hope to have a good personal relationship. And I think to do that, it means that I need to get there by being respectful of the other 2, listening to each other, working on compromises as appropriate so that we can get to yes on certain issues. But I'll slightly extend that to say I intend to do the same with council members from other districts. I think we need to approach a number of issues in Portland from a citywide perspective, not just a district-wide perspective, but the same concepts would apply.
Turning to a different subject, what, if any, actions would you consider taking to address the current concerns related to the critical energy infrastructure hub on the Willamette River?
Thanks for asking that. I'm deeply concerned about the CEI hub. It's essentially a ticking time bomb that demands immediate attention and action. Despite the known risks, we lack a solid, comprehensive plan to address this issue. That includes seismic upgrades to existing infrastructure, inadequate emergency responses, the presence of old unused tanks that pose additional hazards. If I were elected to the city council, I would prioritize the development of a comprehensive risk assessment for the CEI hub, including relocating some of the concentrated storage of fuel oil and jet fuel, push for stricter seismic upgrades, and advocate for the removal of old unused tanks to reduce potential hazards.
You are listening to the Video Voters Guide interview and podcast of Bob Weinstein, candidate for Portland City Council, District 4. Turning to another subject, are you satisfied with the performance of the Joint Office of Homeless Services? And if not, what changes would you support?
No, I'm not satisfied at all with the performance of the joint office. I favor staying in the program for now, as long as it appears that it's developing meaningful metrics, accountability, and cooperation from the county government. If that doesn't happen and the relationship becomes even more toxic, then I think a divorce is in order and the city will need to pull out. I'm hoping that that will not be necessary.
What skills, experience, and interests distinguish you from other candidates for this position in District 4?
Well, first of all, as I said earlier, I have 18 years of experience in local government, including building budgets and dealing with a host of constituent issues and resident concerns. In addition, as I said, I worked for a U.S. Senator. Part of my job was to respond to constituents on behalf of the senator. I think it's very important that the new city council have a system in place so that when people contact City Hall, they actually get an answer from their elected representatives. I think that's a basic tenet of our democracy. People should be able to contact their elected officials and expect an answer.
Which, if any, strategies described in the draft 2024 Portland Housing Production Strategy could or would you support?
Well, I'm concerned about the housing production strategy because it's based on projecting the development of many, many housing units that are needed in Portland without a real plan to get there. And I'll give you an example. The first order of business for the council needs to be to review what's going on with permitting. We're currently in a situation where, as of about a month ago, only 500 permits for housing units, including multi-family housing units, the number of actual living units, has been approved by the city permitting operation. I was at a meeting 4 to 6 weeks ago where the city was reviewing the new service area where the permitting bureaus have been combined. I asked them how long it would take for a permit to be processed once it came in the door, and if it had no issues with it. There was no answer. So I think that it's one thing to have a pie in the sky housing production strategy. It's another thing to actually give some policy directions to help get there. And I think that will be important for the council to do.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. This concludes our video voters guide and podcast interview of the League of Women Voters of Portland of Bob Weinstein, candidate for Portland City Council, District 4. Election day is Tuesday, November 5. Be sure to inform yourself about the candidates and exercise your right to vote. Thank you for your interest.